Hi there, Prescott Finn here. If you've been to my site, gigworking.ninja, or if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I've just published my very first course on udemy.com. It's called Smarterr Sellerr, the double R being a little bit of a riff on Fiverr, Fiverr.com, that contract work website. Smarterr Sellerr is about helping you use the Fiverr platform more effectively, to sell more, to serve your clients better, and to use it as a starting point for making a living doing something that you love. So as of today, you should know that on Udemy there are 38 different courses teaching people to use Fiverr. And I wanted to create a short video which shows what makes Smarterr Sellerr different from the rest, and also to give you a little bit of a taste of what Smarterr Sellerr is about. So actually, wait a second. You should know there, as I said, there are dozens of courses on Udemy and some expensive ones. Now, I'm not one to berate the competition. I will tell you that there are some of these that are expertly delivered with very worthy competitors of mine, experts in Fiverr. But a lot of them I find fall into one or two categories. Either they focus on which buttons to click and which menu items to choose in order to use Fiverr, and they breeze totally past the strategy, which is what you really need to know so that you're not reinventing the wheel. Or they go the other route. They promise you wealth beyond your wildest. Just sign up for my $300 Udemy class. No. I created Smarterr Sellerr for the people who aren't willing to buy hook, line, and sinker that Fiverr is some kind of a get-rich-quick mechanism, and who want to learn strategy for doing what you came to Fiverr to do, to run a business. And that takes strategy. It also takes a little longer. You're not going to learn everything you need to know in 2 hours. Smarterr Sellerr is extremely comprehensive, over 7 hours long. And it'll serve you as a resource in the months and the years as you are growing your business. So if you want to jump ahead and join, visit gigworking.ninja, not .com, just .ninja/training. There we go. That'll get you to the course. But for the rest of you, I wanted to just give you a sample of my approach. I thought I would put a modified version of part of one of my lectures. It's lecture number 12 in the series, which is on gig analysis and design. Even if you have no intention whatsoever to take my course, have a look. This should be some value because a little bit of competitive analysis can really help you understand the demand for the services which you plan to provide, as well as the supply of other competing Fiverr sellers who are offering similar services to what you do. So once you've made it past the first 11 lectures, here you are. You're well on your way. You've learned about Fiverr. You finished professional branding exercise, which is going to help you really focus your message. You've got your Fiverr account set up. You've got a compelling profile up, which, well, no, actually, you're going to start to build a compelling profile shortly, and that's optimized for searches, the kind of searches for the services that you offer. You've got a description and a photo which reflect the value that you bring to buyers. So at this point, you're really ready to start doing some analysis in preparation for posting your first gig or your first advertised service on Fiverr. In Fiverr lingo, that's a gig. And at this point, the natural question for a good cynic like myself is, why bother? Why not just post lots and lots of gigs and then see which ones work out? I work in Silicon Valley, and the prevailing approach there is to experiment with everything, try things and see what happens. There's a term, MVP, minimum viable product. The idea that you put something together in the simplest, smallest product possible and just get it out there to see if there's demand. And then you can use that demand to continue refining it. It's a good idea in some cases. It works really well for application developers who are hoping to build the next Facebook because they're looking to snare the curiosity of the potential user. You get enough of those, you get a venture capital firm to fund you for a few years, and maybe somewhere years, if not decades down the road, you can start actually making some money. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to guess that you can't wait a decade to make some money. That probably, if you're watching this, you're hoping for something that's going to start to fill your bank account within, what, the next 12 weeks? Sooner? 8 weeks? Okay, so maybe if everybody's brand new unresearched gigs got great visibility, then just kind of winging it and experimenting might be a good approach. But the reality is you're going to save yourself a lot of work in the long run by doing a little bit of analysis up front. And that research, that you do up front will significantly increase the odds that your gig will be both competitive and profitable. Because it'll happen that you'll come up with this great idea. You absolutely love it, right? But if you go with your gut, it's not going to make you any money on Fiverr. It could be a brilliant idea conceptually, but maybe it has one of a million tiny flaws. Maybe it's not right for this particular market, or you can't charge enough for it to cover your costs. Or it could work, but it's going to need some tweaks and modifications before you can make money with it. Or the offering would generate enough demand, but you're presenting it in a way that isn't speaking to the people who might actually buy it. So the question then is, how do you figure out if your idea can become both a competitive gig and a profitable one? Because you want your gig to be both, right? If it doesn't at least sometimes outshine the competition, you're not going to go anywhere. That's competitive. And if you're completing all kinds of orders, but you're spending almost everything you make on costs, then what's even the point? So to design a more competitive gig, your gig has to first be picked up by buyers so that you're not getting passed over again and again, losing opportunity to all of the higher rated sellers with more experience, a long history on Fiverr, lots of satisfied customers. So this calls for a little bit of competitive analysis. You want to know which similar gigs are working and why. What are the features of the competing gigs which might attract buyers? How are other sellers pricing their gigs or structuring them via what they call gig extras or custom offers in order to make a compelling offer? What are some of the alternatives to hiring somebody on Fiverr which your buyers might be considering completely off the platform, doing something that doesn't involve Fiverr? And then look at the buyers and the demand. What is the total demand for the type of service that you provide? Are there a lot of sellers with all kinds of buyer reviews or just a few? Are there places other than Fiverr where people are selling these services? Other gig-working websites? Craigslist, who knows? And if so, how much is being sold there? These are the kind of questions that you have to ask in the process of analysis. Once you've asked these questions and gotten some answers, once you have a clear view of the competition and a better understanding of the buyers, the supply, the demand, that's when you can start to think about how you might design your gig to compete more effectively. So you can see how asking those questions is better than just sort of guessing and throw it at the wall and see if it sticks, right? So then that's competitive. Then the more profitable gigs, you want to make sure that you're not spending more on your costs to fulfill orders than you are taking in. And again, a little bit of questioning up front can yield some very helpful insights. What's your process to fulfill an order? How long does each step take? What are the costs involved? How might you structure your gig in order to earn the most for each sale? What's the base cost of the gig? It used to be only $5 for every gig. And recently, Fiverr has changed that policy where now you can start a gig that's not just $5, but it can be $25, I believe up to $100 in certain cases. And how about gig extras? What goes into each of those, and for how much are you offering each? How strong is your push to get buyers to choose a custom order? Those might be more profitable in some cases. But then again, under what conditions will a custom order be more profitable for you? So once you've considered competition, the competitiveness, and the profitability, you also need to consider the other types of gigs that you offer at different stages of your Fiverr business's growth. Are you brand new, or have you been at it for a while? Do you have a lot of positive reviews that back you up, or are you maybe working your way back from some negative reviews? There are good Fiverr sellers who end up in that position from time to time too. And then based on your position, how might you modify your gigs and the services you offer in order to compete more effectively? Is this a point at which you might choose to sell at a lower price just to drum up some business? Might you consider doing gigs in high demand areas, which maybe they're a little outside of your professional goals, but might you do that in order to bank some buyer reviews faster? Or are you a more established Fiverr seller and maybe you're less inclined to do, more work for less money? You can see how, again, asking the right questions, and to be clear, analysis is a lot of work, but how taking that time, putting in the effort to ask the right questions up front, how it can help you in the long run. You're not just going to get the kind of actionable insights by just, creating whatever gig. You're going to do analysis now so that you can design gigs which outperform your less thoughtful competitors. The good news is that I've designed a spreadsheet, the Fiverr Gig Analysis and Design Tool. And it's for making, analyzing, designing, and refining your gigs really easy. And once you sign up for the course on Udemy, you can download a copy of this spreadsheet from the supplemental resources section. So it's there for you. That's the good news. You've got a powerful tool to help with gig analysis and design. The bad news is that the process isn't really easy. If it were, all your competitors would already be doing it, right? So then actually maybe it's not such a bad thing that it's a little bit difficult. But some of my students will use this spreadsheet. Others, they choose to do the analysis with pen and paper or on a whiteboard or on the back of an envelope or an empty Word doc. It doesn't matter how you organize your analysis. I like spreadsheets, so this works for me. But the point is that you do it, however you do it, so that you're not wasting a lot of time on gigs which aren't going to go anywhere. But let me demo the spreadsheet for you just really quickly. Here it is in Microsoft Excel. Now, if you're familiar with spreadsheets, you can see here at the bottom are a bunch of tabs. Each one is a different worksheet. And when you're analyzing, when using this, you start on the left with existing gigs. And this gives you room to review existing gigs with which your gig will compete. This one has some sample data in it, and it has all the information, so you can analyze up to 10 gigs. A second worksheet, searches and substitutes. This gives you a framework for understanding the searches that your buyers might use to find your gig, and then some of the alternatives off Fiverr which they might be considering instead of buying your gig. Worksheet 3, your new gig. This gives you the opportunity to create it. You draw on the insights that you've gained from your customer searches and from your competitors' gigs in order to build your new gig strategically instead of just going to Fiverr and trying to improv your way to success. So you build it all in here and then you put it in Fiverr. Take note of the fourth worksheet. This is a gig design to-do list, and you can use this to track your efforts from start to finish. And then here, your bottom line. We'll review this later on in more detail, but these are the financials. This helps you forecast your gig's potential profitability. It's incredibly useful to you as it helps you determine how fast you have in order to crank out a finished product, in order to meet your revenue goals. And it also shines a bright light on gigs which initially seem like a good idea, but ultimately prove unprofitable. And then performing the gig. And this gives you a template into which you can design your gig's workflow really down to the minute so that you can more accurately assess whether or not your gig can be completed in the number of minutes necessary in order to make it profitable. As I said, I love spreadsheets, right? So for someone like me, this is a great tool for determining whether or not I'm likely to make money with my new gig idea. You may be different. So as long as you're answering all of these key questions, and you'll learn that in the program, it doesn't matter where you do it. You can do it in a spreadsheet or wherever. But that's a taste of what we will cover. Here we go. In the subsequent Smarterr Sellerr lectures, strategies to accomplish each of these. Here it is again, making yourself more competitive by better understanding your services supply and demand, and then designing and refining the process so that you're earning the most at the lowest cost. And then choosing your services wisely. There are no magic bullet gigs which will earn you a ton of money under any circumstances, that every single time you do this gig, you're just, you're all set. Because if there were these magic bullet gigs that everyone wants, and every single get rich quicker on the internet would be selling them on Fiverr. But if you are observant, if you come to understand your buyers, then you will be able to spot opportunities as they arise, that opportunities to sell more and to earn more with gigs where the demand is, at least for a period of time, where the demand is high and the supply of sellers is low. So, if all this interests you, go here. Gigworking.ninja/training. It'll take you to my course, $39, 8 hours of training. Is a professional branding exercise to tools to develop a compelling profile and well-researched gigs which are most likely to keep you busy and to keep your bank account full. And actually, I believe if you follow this link, there is a coupon code that'll get that $39 down a little bit. There's also a contact page, so if you have any additional questions, please do contact me through that. Gigworking.ninja/training. Thank you again.